Have you ever woken up one morning and realized you're no longer a man in your own life? You're furniture, not a throne, not a warrior's armor. No, a worn-out armchair in the corner of the room. You're useful, reliable, predictable. You fix the leaks, you change the light bulbs, you pay the bills. But if you vanished tomorrow, you'd simply be replaced, quietly, efficiently, without ceremony. And within weeks, nobody would even notice the difference. This is the silent death most men experience. Not a dramatic breakdown, not betrayal, not chaos, just slow emotional erosion, a fading, a dissolving of your presence until you're no longer a man, you're an appliance. And the worst part? You think this is what love looks like. You mistake obedience for maturity, silence for peace, self-erasure for devotion. You don't even realize you've been domesticated, because every story starts the same. In the beginning, you're a wolf. You have teeth, opinions, boundaries, a world of your own. 6 months later, you've become a golden retriever, loyal, harmless, trained. A year later, you're apologizing for your tone, your timing, your preferences, your very existence. 2 years in, you can't make a single decision without checking in first, like a child asking permission to breathe. By then, your original personality has been scrubbed, clean, reformatted, rebranded into something safe, compliant, and emotionally neutered. And you're convinced this is what a good man is supposed to be. But here's the truth nobody dares tell you. Every single time she pushes your boundary, and you retreat, every time she weaponizes emotion, and you cave, every time she tests your strength, and you crumble, you aren't keeping the peace. You are assassinating her attraction to you, one obedient nod at a time. Because buried deep beneath cultural programming and glossy Instagram quotes is a primal instinct older than civilization itself. She does not want a servant. She wants a mountain. Something unmovable. Something she cannot break. Something that stands even in the storm. And when you prove you can be bent, trained, dominated, a piece of her respect for you dies. Permanently. That crown I'm talking about, you can see it grow. In her eyes, when she speaks to you like an employee. In her tone, when she sighs with disappointment rather than desire. In the way she looks through you instead of at you. Until finally, you are nothing more than background support in the movie of her life. And when that moment arrives, something sinister happens. She begins to despise you. Not because you're cruel, not because you're abusive, not because you're flawed, but because you're weak, because she tested the foundation and it collapsed. Here's the paradox that destroys millions of men. Women test men to find strength, but those very tests grind most men down into weakness. It's erosion, one drop at a time. If you loved me, you'd... Why don't you ever open up more? Why can't you be more sensitive? And you comply again, and again, and again, until one day, there is nothing left but a pleasantly spoken shell, safe, harmless, sexless. And then she feels nothing, not desire, not passion, not admiration, only boredom layered with subtle resentment. And here's the twisted irony that will haunt you. She hates you for becoming weak, even though she was the one who broke you. She punishes you for failing the very tests she endlessly subjected you to. And deep down, she realizes something devastating. She chose wrong, so you do what every domesticated man does. You numb yourself. You convince yourself all relationships are like this. You tell yourself real love is hard work. You scroll social media and whisper, they're all pretending. Everyone suffers behind the scenes. No, that's the lie you tell yourself so you don't have to face the truth. You lost yourself. You abandoned your masculinity to keep the peace, and in the process destroyed the very attraction you were trying to protect. Because there are men out there who don't play this game. Men who don't bow. Men who don't negotiate their identity. Men who hold frame no matter what storm comes. Men who figured out the code. And once you understand that code, the entire dynamic flips overnight. Not because you manipulate, but because you finally remember. You were never meant to be furniture. You were meant to be the damn house. There are 3 phrases that shatter a woman's crown. So, let's get to the techniques. The first and perhaps most powerful move is the phrase, "You're predictable." These aren't just words. This is a precision strike that absolutely devastates the female ego. And you need to listen closely, because this move hits deep. The key is to say it not with anger, not in the heat of an argument, but as a simple, almost bored observation. You aren't accusing, you are stating a fact. You know, at first I really thought you were different, special, but now I see you behave exactly like all the others. The same games, the same manipulations, the same drama. You are completely predictable. Why does this have such a devastating effect? Because her entire identity is built on the belief that she is the exception. She is not like other girls. She is that unique flower, not just part of a collection. She is the one who was supposed to change your life, not repeat others' mistakes. And when you calmly, emotionlessly inform her that she is just another actress, playing the same tired role from the same script as billions before her, something fundamental in her self-perception breaks. Her entire world, built on her own exceptionalism, collapses. I witnessed a scene outside a restaurant. A couple was arguing loudly. She was hysterical, screaming about how he didn't appreciate her uniqueness, how he couldn't see how special she was. And her boyfriend, calm as a statue, just looked at her and said, "Special? You are literally saying the exact same phrases my ex used, word for word. Do you all share a textbook?" She went silent, not just quiet, but silent. You know that deafening silence when someone has a system failure? Her brain just froze, unable to process the blow. Because for the first time in her life, someone didn't play her game, but simply held up a mirror and showed her she wasn't the star of her own movie. She was just an extra in someone else's. Second phrase, total indifference to her leaving. The second move, and this one arguably has even more power, complete absolute indifference to her leaving. This isn't playing indifferent, it is the demonstration of your true non-neediness. She threatens to leave. You calmly hold the door for her. She says she needs to think or take a break. You reply, "Of course, take your time. I actually just made some plans of my own." She casually mentions her ex is texting her. You shrug. Great, maybe you two can work things out. You have to understand every threat she makes. All her emotional blackmail is based on a single assumption that you are terrified of losing her. This certainty of your dependence is her primary lever of control. She simply cannot imagine a scenario where her departure is not a universal tragedy for you. And in that very moment, when you show not just acceptance, but a calm, perhaps even relieved preference for her leaving her entire reality, her entire system of control shatters. It's as if she was playing poker, certain she had a royal flush, and you just stood up from the table and showed her you weren't even in the game. A friend of mine heard that classic manipulation. "I think we should live apart for a while." What does this really mean? She wants you to fight for her, to beg, to prove your devotion and fear. Instead, he calmly said, "Brilliant idea. To be honest, I was thinking the same thing. Thanks for making it easy for me." The look on her face, priceless. She literally started to stammer, desperately trying to take the words back, explaining that she didn't mean it like that, and it was just a test to see if he even cared. Third phrase, "You're average in bed." The third thing that completely shatters her throne is a strike at her sexual ego. Understand? Every woman believes her sexuality is her absolute superpower. It's her trump card, her nuclear option, the one thing she believes makes her irreplaceable and gives her unlimited power over you. She was sure this was how she kept you on a short leash. She is convinced she can control any man, including you, just by using this magic. And 99% of the time, she is unfortunately correct. And then in one moment, you casually, almost dismissively, let it be known that in bed she is nothing special, just fine, maybe even below average. The psychological effect of this is like an atomic bomb detonating in the center of her ego. You aren't just hitting her pride, you are questioning the very foundation of her feminine power. You don't say it rudely, you don't scream, you don't insult. You say it as a simple, dispassionate observation. Honestly, the physical side of our relationship has always been just okay. I've had far more passionate and deep connections, but that's fine. Not everyone can be exceptional in that area. The key is precisely this detachment. And then you just continue doing whatever you were doing, as if you just commented on the weather. She won't respond right away. She'll go quiet, trying to process the information. Unlike other insults which she could write off as your anger or jealousy, this cold, dispassionate observation gets under her skin and stays there. Her brain frantically searches for where she made a mistake, how her main trump card turned out to be a dud. because you just took her greatest weapon, the one she threatened you with, and told her it was a toy gun. You took what she thought was her ace of spades and showed the whole table it was a two of clubs. In that moment, for the first time in her life, she feels completely disarmed because you just proved that her main trump card is just a painted card with no real value. This is not an attack. It's an antibiotic. But here is what most men fundamentally fail to understand. These techniques are not attacks. They are responses. This isn't poison. It's an antibiotic for a relationship that is rotting with the infection of manipulation. You don't take antibiotics when you're perfectly healthy, do you? You don't use these techniques when the relationship is full of respect and peace. You are forced to use them when she uses her own tactics against you. You use them when she employs threats, emotional blackmail, and psychological terror to control and break you. There is another incredibly powerful technique, the agreement method. It simply blows women's minds because it completely breaks their script. She makes a statement designed to hurt you, provoke you, force you to defend yourself. For example, maybe I should just find someone who will appreciate me. The weak man's response, which she expects, "No, baby, I appreciate you. Please don't go." The strong man's response, "You know what? You're absolutely right. You deserve someone who will make you happy. And obviously, that's not me. I'll help you pack your bags." She throws another one. "You're not a real man. Agree." "You're right. A real man wouldn't sit here and tolerate this behavior. Thanks for pointing that out." This complete calm agreement is her worst nightmare. The agreement method works because her attacks are almost never statements. They are tests disguised as declarations. She is desperately seeking your emotional reaction, and instead, you give her cold, impenetrable logic. She expects you to justify, beg, or get angry. Any of these reactions confirms her control over you. By agreeing, you don't just dodge, you annihilate the very premise of the test, showing that her opinion is not the high court for you. This disorients her. You've taken away her script, and she doesn't know what role to play next. When you agree instead of justifying, you break the very structure of the test. It's like someone swung to punch you, expecting resistance, and you just stepped aside and let their momentum carry them face first into a wall. The existential crisis you must create. And here's something else that hits right at the core of the female ego, demonstrating that you became happier after her. She leaves staging a drama and expects you to shatter, to beg, to crawl on your knees. She expects your life to stop, but instead, you flourish. You don't chase, you don't call. You don't write those pathetic mile-long texts about how much you miss her. Instead, you live. And not just live, but live better. You suddenly start doing all the things with enthusiasm that she called stupid. You meet up with those friends she labeled a bad influence. You dive headfirst into hobbies she considered waste of time. She expected her departure to be your punishment, your personal hell. Instead, it became your vacation. She genuinely believed she was the sun in your solar system, around which everything revolved. It turned out she was just the cloud blocking the real light. This creates what psychologists call an existential crisis. Her entire self-worth was built on being indispensable to your happiness, and you just proved that she was, in fact, the main obstacle to it. After this, a pattern launches predictable as the changing seasons. The woman leaves dramatically, expecting a desperate chase. The man doesn't chase. Instead, he starts enjoying his life and posting photos where he is genuinely happy. The woman suddenly has an urgent emergency that requires his specific help. The man doesn't answer or replies coldly. The woman accidentally shows up at his place to get her things that she doesn't actually need. The man is polite, but absolutely cold and detached. And here's the finale. The woman suddenly desperately wants to talk about us every single time because her world has been turned upside down, and she desperately needs to get you back in the pen to confirm she still controls reality. The truth you're afraid to say. You have to understand they are playing a game they aren't even aware of. This isn't calculated. It's instinct, like a bird builds a nest or a spider spins a web. They create these complex emotional traps not because they are evil, but because it is their nature. You don't get mad at a scorpion for stinging, do you? It's what they do. But here is the diabolical difference. Unlike the scorpion, the woman wants you to avoid the sting. She desperately wants you to be smart enough, strong enough, and aware enough to not fall into her trap. Every test she runs is a secret plea. Please be strong enough so I don't have to be the strong one for both of us. Every manipulation is a silent prayer. Please see through this so I can finally respect you. The words women are afraid of are in fact the words they are desperate to hear. Because a woman with an uncontrolled ego, with a throne that blocks out her son, that woman is unbearably, existentially unhappy. She is bored. She doesn't feel alive. She has conquered everything. And now she has nothing to respect and nothing to strive for. When you knock over that throne, when you refuse to play her games, when you straighten your spine, you aren't just saving yourself. You are saving her too from herself. From the monster that limitless power turned her into, from the misery and unhappiness of being with a man she despises. But most of you won't do it. You'll watch this video, you'll nod, you'll agree with every word, and then you'll close this tab and go back to your yes dear to walking on eggshells. And you will die a little bit every day because it's easier, because you fear conflict more than you fear losing yourself. This fear is a guarantee that you will lose both, first yourself and then her. You invent 1,000 excuses. You say, I don't want to hurt her, brother. She doesn't care about your feelings. She trampled them long ago. You say, I don't want to lose her. You already lost her the moment she stopped respecting you. You say, I don't want to be alone. You are alone, just with someone else in the room. And that is the most terrifying form of loneliness because it leaves no room for hope. I'll leave you with this thought. Every woman's greatest fear is not that you will leave her. It's that you will stay, but you will stop needing her. This fear is deeper than the fear of loneliness. It is the primal terror of her irrelevance, her non-necessity, that you will be there physically, but emotionally thousands of miles away, that you will look at her and feel nothing, not just coldness, but absolute 0 Kelvin. No anger, no love, no hate, just nothing. Because it is in that moment she understands her power is truly gone. In that moment, the throne doesn't just fall. It evaporates as if it never existed. The red button is in front of you. Press it, and tomorrow you will wake up as a man who says what must be said regardless of her reaction. Or don't press it and spend the rest of your life as an extra in her show, having completely forgotten that you were supposed to be the star of your own. Remember, she is not afraid you will leave. She is afraid you will stop being afraid to lose her. She is not afraid of your anger. Anger is an emotion she can use and control. She is afraid of your indifference. Indifference is the desert where her manipulation simply cannot take root. And she is not afraid of your words. She is afraid of your truth. The only thing worse than being a man who says the words women fear is being the man who is too afraid to say them. If you are tired of walking on eggshells and are finally ready to hear the truth, not a comfortable lie. If you no longer want to be convenient furniture and are ready to take back your throne, subscribe to Freedom Forge. Here we don't play games, we end them. See you in the next video.